in tailor-made events and taking out the time of your busy schedule to do this interview, kind of like, I want to say, fireside chat.
Yes.
We love supporting our nonprofits and giving back to the community, and we definitely love to have fun. And this is simply just going to be a relaxed conversation. So again, thank you all for just being here today. So if you could, everybody kind of just introduce themselves. I guess we could start with Glenda and we can work our way from there.
Okay, I am Chef Glenda Jones. I love dealing with food and cooking and feeding people. I enjoy feeding people, really enjoy doing that. Taking something out of nothing and making it into an immaculate meal. Simple, quick, and healthy.
Awesome, awesome, excellent.
And I love coaching people in the kitchen to create the same atmosphere for themselves.
Love it, love it.
Love it. So, thank you.
Miss Sims.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Taylor May.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We're excited to be on with you.
I am so excited. This is going to be a great adventure for everyone. I am a retired military wife, 26 years of military service, and retired educator. I'm a mother of 2 teenagers, and I am a health and wellness coach, a certified holistic practitioner, and what I enjoy doing is watching animals. That's what I really enjoy doing. But let me tell you, there's a television show called Dr. Pole, and what he is the entire Michigan's famous veterinarian. When I watch him, I think about how I help my clients. I love to see how clients are able to find their weaknesses and to be able to turn those into strengths. So it's all about helping someone find themselves and having, a rejuvenation. So that's what I enjoy. I love to help people to rejuvenate their body.
Love it, love it. So what's the fun fact about you, Ms. Sims? Tell us something kind of fun and interesting. We're going to dig a little deeper for you.
So I love to walk trails, and that's fun for me, believe it or not. May be boring for someone else, but I love to walk trails. I love to pick herbs. I love to milk goats, and I love to take the goat milk and make goat cheese and add fresh herbs to the goat cheese. That is so much fun for me.
Okay.
Awesome, awesome.
That is good.
Well, thank you. Pleasure to meet you. And last but not least, Miss Vivian, could you please introduce yourself?
Oh my goodness, absolutely. My name is Vivian D'Souza. I am the co-founder of TaylorMade Events. And what we do is we specialize in corporate events, training events, conferences, retreats. And so what we do is we take your vision, your ideas, and we bring them to life. So we are so excited to be on with you today.
Awesome, awesome. Love it. I love it. And I look forward to this discussion that we're getting ready to have, especially in the midst of COVID-19 and just the impact that that's having on everybody, our families, our friends, our loved ones, our essential workers, etc. Right? And so super excited to have both of you ladies on to just give us an impartation, just really kind of share maybe some expert tips or different ways that you can really, add value to people's life. And so that's probably a good segue to talk about that. So what are maybe some of your initial thoughts about COVID-19 and what we're dealing with?
Yeah, I'm thinking about how people are stuck in fear and how they're worried about their physical bodies and how they're concerned, hey, well, I get it. And I think for me, one of the biggest things is how people are concerned about what do I need to do, or what I think they should be concerned about anyway, is what do I need to do to make sure that I'm okay? Are there things that I can eat, or are there things that I could do to improve where I am in my health to help me? Or how can I de-stress? Or, I mean, around COVID-19, it's just so much, because this is all new to all of us. It's a new thing. It's a new day. And there are a lot of fears and anxieties and stress. And I mean, people are home with their children. And for me, that's normal because I homeschool. So I've always had my children home, but that's not normal for a lot of people. So you have anxieties coming from a lot of places, from watching all the trauma on the news to, having to go to the grocery store even.
So when you mentioned homeschool, you said this is something that you've been doing for a while now. So help us out, because there are a lot of people who have to transition into doing the homeschooling. This is something that's totally new to them, totally outside of their comfort zone, really. So what homeschooling tips can you give us to help us out in dealing with our kids being at home?
Okay, I think for me, I chose to homeschool because it was my decision. And I think that decision and that mindset was one of the things that actually set the stage for which direction we were going to go. And so I had to come to grips with what my reasonings were. What's my motivations? What are my core motivations for doing what I'm doing? And I think now, even though COVID-19 threw people into homeschooling, there are still core motivations and reasonings that we can think of. First, we want to keep our kids safe. So that means we don't have the desire for them to go into the public arena with other kids. So what can we do? We keep them home. We want to educate them. We want them to improve and learn and become more academically sound. So, we can do that. So I think it's creating goals and setting a focus that will help us motivate when there are days we want to cover our heads. And there were many days I wanted to cover my head, but then there are days that are amazing and work out great, and you see the light bulb come on. So for me, I'd say set goals, have a vision, and try to relax. Because this is a new environment, I think the initial thing is to relax and connect with your child. Because if you have a child that you're connected with, that you bonded with, it's a whole lot easier to get them to do what you want to do than to come in thinking that you have to create the public school environment at home, because they're two different places.
Right.
I mean, for me, school started in the kitchen when we were eating breakfast. You can learn math while you're measuring. We learned alphabets with pancake mix and a turkey baster and a skillet. You can learn how to measure. You have to read. So then homeschool becomes a lifestyle, not just sitting at the table doing this and doing that. And those things are important, but I'm just saying creating that atmosphere for learning.
I love it. That's good stuff. Do you have any tips, Ms. at all?
So when I heard about COVID-19, probably this first week in March, I learned that I had to travel to Chicago. And so for me, I knew I had to go. It was something we had to do. So it was a necessary trip, although I was torn, because I was taking my children as well. But I was over precautious, and I'm glad I was. I was a nervous Nancy. Wear your gloves when you pump the gas. Did you put your mask on? Now, this was March 12th is when we left, and I was wearing a mask then. There's so much uncertainty. That's why people have the stress and anxiety, because there's so much uncertainty on the news. No one knows the virus. That's why we're watching and monitoring the virus, and we're trying to find answers, but this is a virus that they're going to have to study. And when you study a virus, it takes time. In the meantime, we have to stay safe. And that's my philosophy on the entire thing, because another pandemic can happen. Same thing. We have to learn how to stay safe, learn how to stay calm, and learn how to prepare. And that's why we're here today, is to try to enlighten our community on being prepared.
And I think part of that is living in the moment. All we have is right now. whether there's a pandemic going on or whether there's a tornado or whatever. What are we doing in this moment at this time to make sure that I'm okay? And that actually affects the next moment. Am I okay? Can I calm myself? Taking deep breaths, getting fresh air, communicating and loving on those that we can love on. Eating, eating is my thing. Am I eating well? What am I putting in my body? I mean, we wouldn't go out and put diesel in a gas running vehicle, would we? So what am I putting in my body? How am I functioning? And do those things in this moment. And when we get to the next moment, okay, let's regather and go to that moment. And before we look at it, we've had days of being okay. We get so caught up into the future and stressing and having these mental board meetings with me, myself, and I of what if and what if. What if it just is? What if we didn't make today be the best day that we could make it?
Chef Glenda, I'm happy I really appreciate everything that's being said, but I just want to you made me think of a question when you talk about eating healthy and being a chef. I think what's going on now is that a lot of people are losing their income, losing jobs, employment opportunities. So I think the budget is shrinking to some extent. Obviously, there's a lot of programs that are trying to avoid that. But so now we're entering a situation where we have a tighter budget, in my observation anyway, but we still want to eat healthy. And so my question for you is, do you have any advice on how we can kind of make the two work together, like eat healthy, eat good, but on a budget as well?
Okay, I think for me, I often look at the thought, if I go into the grocery store, is it going to cost me more to go into the meat section or even in the middle aisles where the junk food is, or the produce? How much is it I bought a bunch of kale for $1.99 yesterday at Publix. So I'm going to spend $1.99 on this kale, or am I going to buy this steak for, I don't know how many, $8.99, $10.99 a pound? So we have to look at what we're doing and how much we're spending and making sure that we're balancing what we eat. And right now here in Alabama, in Huntsville, Madison has a farmer's market that you can actually call in and they will deliver. So even getting things on that level costs less. When we're going in the store, making sure we're staying in the exterior parts of the stores opposed to going into the center sections because, junk food costs more. Some of that stuff costs more. Not that junk food costs more, because unfortunately, the worse the food, usually the cheaper it is because they want to trap you to get it.
Yeah.
And I won't say they, but it's easier to get.
So anything with a label.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So
anything
we aim at those things without a label, because we know that the label is, it's green. That means it has what? Your vitamins, your nutrients, your phytonutrients in it. That's just on the label itself. I'm not telling you that. It's just right there in front of it. So aim for the fresh foods. Aim for trying to multiply meals. Like one day if you make a pot of chili, so that day you have chili and cornbread and maybe a salad. The next day you can actually make some fries and have chili cheese fries. The next day you can have that chili on a taco salad. And you're creating multiple things. If you're making I don't know why, sauce, tomato sauce, spaghetti. You got spaghetti one day for kids. You can actually put your vegetables that are left over, blend it up, and put it in your spaghetti sauce. They don't know the difference. And you can also take that the next day and make pizza with the same sauce. You can do so many things. So it takes a lot of time of sitting and thinking, and also being aware of what's going on with your body. Because I don't do nightshades. So for me, I wouldn't do a tomato, but someone else could and be okay with that. So we have to look at what we're eating and not look at this as what we used to eat. But now it's a new day. It's Christmas. It's exciting. Okay, we can pick some new things and we can create. How can we do that? How can we what else can we do? In my house, if I have some beans and rice and some kind of vegetable, we can create a whole meal and they can all be different every day for a couple of days. And what can we plant? I mean, yesterday we went and I saw on Lowe's had vegetables, 4 plants for $10, 4. And that's something that keeps giving. And we may have to get to that point that we are planting more vegetables and that we are sharing with each other even and eating more.
Okay, so if I'm hearing you, you're saying, you know, there are some cheaper alternatives that are available out there. If you look hard enough, right, you can find it. If you seek, you shall find. And then be creative with your meal prep and stretching the food out and that kind of stuff. So it really comes out to being creative, really, and
Exactly.
just think outside of the box.
It's thinking outside
I
of
like to call that
literal
the
box.
old school way
Right,
because a
the
lot
old
of these
school
new
way.
generations they
That's
used to
right.
that. You know,
Right,
you got to
Yeah. You got to
we can do
stretch
a
those
whole other
meals.
session there.
Yeah.
right.
They're used
And
to everything being literally in a box. Okay.
right,
Old school, they didn't do that.
right. And
And
I
they're
just like
putting
that.
on the table.
Yeah, I like to
It
add.
may not be exactly what that child wants. That's the key, Dana. You were gonna hit on that.
Yes, I was going to say, I like what Chef Glenda said. It's about budgeting and planning and shopping on the perimeter of the store. And a lot of times, what we do is we try to um, buy what the child wants. You know, if the child wants X, Y, and Z, we want to buy it, but it not necessarily meaning that they need it. They just want it. But when you're trying to budget and you know that your money is low, now you have to look at planning a menu around foods that we need, not what we necessarily want. Okay. And you need to make it creative where the child, it can entice him, you know, making the vegetables, like she said, putting the spinach on the pizza. And I also want to capitalize on the fact that everything doesn't have to be, all the produce doesn't have to be organic. A lot of times people say, well, the produce is so expensive, I'd rather just go and eat out. Well, you can also buy seeds for $1.69. And that seed, those package of seeds,
Come on, Miss Sims.
multiply, because that's what they did in the old days. You plant your seeds and you will have a harvest to feed a whole neighborhood. So we have
Wow.
to think about what you can do now as an investment in your own backyard. And that helps your fears to get lower and lower, you know, less anxiety. Because when we look on TV, we look about, oh, we have to do A through Z, and we start panicking. And that's when all the anxiety rises up. But what we need to do is just take a step back and say, you know what can I do for me? What can I do for my household? I need to be in control of what I do. And so I need to look at the little money that I have and look at how I can stretch it.
And that's having a
Absolutely.
plan, which is most important before we go to the store. Then we're less likely to just reach and grab things.
Yes, planning.
Absolutely.
Sitting
That's a
down,
really
planning
good
a menu
information.
and planning a budget. Yes.
That's
Now,
good.
let me ask you ladies this, and whoever wants to jump in there. In the midst of like this version of the flu, if you will, which we know flu attacks our bodies in different ways. And I'm not going to attempt to go into all the details that this COVID situation is impacting us. But I believe once upon a time, I read a book called Foods That Harm, Foods That Heal. And it was talking about how foods can have healing properties.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's pretty much the setup for my next question. Like, uh, do you have any advice as far as like food or remedies or ingredients from a natural standpoint that we can use to help fortify our immune systems, our bodies, and our minds during this pandemic?
That's a big
Well,
question. And I
yeah,
think both
that's a
of
big
us
question, but
have
I can only give you from experience what foods can do for me. I know there's a lot of books out there. And so if you have a library of different health books, that's fine. But I can only give you my experience and my take on vegetables. As a little girl, I struggled with constipation, and it led to me having emergency surgery at 10 years old. I had a um, appendectomy surgery. They yelled at my mom because she didn't get me there fast enough to the emergency room. And they removed it. It was an emergency surgery, 10 years old. Okay. When it was time to discharge, they told her nothing about my diet. And so you take your child home and then you continue the same diet because you don't know otherwise. And you haven't been informed otherwise, of what to do differently. And so we learned trial and error, and I basically had to eat more vegetables, and I had to avoid the meat because we found that the meat was the culprit. And so that led that led to me being vegetarian by default. And I know for me, the leafy greens really, really help rejuvenate my body. When I eat collards and cabbage and Swiss chard and spinach, cauliflower, broccoli, quinoa, those foods, that's my staple. You know, I don't have to have anything with sugar because I know what sugar does to my body. But when I look at those vegetables, that's my lifeline. And so, and those are things that I can plant. You know, all those vegetables that I like, go buy some seeds and start planting and have a multitude of food. So those, to me, those are bodies that help my body and don't harm my body. So I think the person would have to look at what helps their body and try to eat more of those foods. Especially when we're talking, especially when we hear the word underlying conditions on television almost every day. You know, we have to ask ourselves, well, what's contributing to my underlying condition? I know I'm on 15 medications, but I also see all of these deaths on TV. So if all these people have underlying conditions, what am I doing to help my situation? Yeah. So those are questions that people need to start asking, and they need to start taking ownership of their health.
Good.
I agree. And I think if we all look at our own life, we can find some experiences where if we ate one thing, we actually stopped and listened to our body, we felt one way versus another. And I have those experiences. In my household, we have those experiences. Even the reason I even started looking into health, my husband was really, really sick, but my husband was also addicted to cinnamon rolls and blueberry ice. and what we found is that his health just went down. And it wasn't until we were facing not knowing what to do, and we were trained by the people to try eating healthier and eating, you know, more vegetables, drinking more water, getting more sleep, rest, and decreasing the stress and getting us natural vitamin D. When they told us these things and we tried these things and doing a few things to jumpstart his body, life changed. And became, you know, the habit that we were dealing with at that point. So for me, I often tell people, when you take up that fork and you put that fork in your mouth, always stop and look at it and think, is it helping me? I mean, is it healing me or hurting me?
Right.
So then we know that, you know, health comes one bite at a time. And we can think about that and make an accurate decision as to whether or not I want it. Okay, what is this really doing to us? And we are smart. We were created with amazing minds to distinguish between what's good for me and what's not. And our bodies are so wonderful that if we literally stop and just listen, if I eat something I should, and you know that bloating feeling you get in your stomach and start wanting to go to get that itis, then you may need to think, oh, maybe I need to try something different.
I love it. So, you know, in the midst, as you all are saying this, I'm thinking, in the midst of everything that's going on, the stress on our bodies, you know, the emotional and mental roller coaster, the fear and everything, and just trying to figure it out and just really trying to adjust, right? Do you think that this is possibly just maybe a second chance? Because, you know, we're just so used to going. You know, some of us, we just never have a chance, the opportunity to sit down and just kind of catch our breath and say, oh, okay, you know, and learn to have those boundaries. You know what I'm saying? So you think this is a second chance for us to just kind of be still, to just do some things? And I've heard people say they're doing things that they've never had the opportunity to do before. They're working on their homes, you know, they're doing some remodeling. Some people are writing books, you know, and it's just, they're just really taking this time to be creative. Unfortunately, because of the situation, that has happened. But do you think, and anyone, I'm opening up to anybody, do you think this is really a second chance for us to just have a reset, if you will?
Yes, yes, a second chance at life. I do. I do. And if I had to do it over, or if another pandemic arises or catastrophe or tornado, um, I think we should just be prepared. I think we should prepare, because it takes out less panic when you're prepared. Use the time to be prepared, because I think all of us can recognize that we have spent, money that we didn't need to spend, and now we can start looking at, being more frivolous with our money, being more conscious. It's not about the latest and the greatest. Now it's really about, you
Survival.
know, I need to survive. That's what it's really about. And how can I be prepared for the next one? I know for my boys, I always think about this. What if a catastrophe happens and we're separated? I want them to know. I want them to have kits. And that's what I'm going to do for my time. Now, when they lift the shutdown and let everybody out, foot loose, fancy free. We're going to be like jailbirds, like, free. But what are we going to do with that time? Are we going to use it to, yeah, we're going to have fun, but are we going to maximize our time and prepare? Because they're saying it may mutate and it may be worse. It may be, or it may be something different. It may be a plague of swarming bees and you can't come out your house and go to the store or go to Lowe's or nowhere else. Are you going to be prepared? Will you have a 3-month supply in your house? And there we go back to budget again. A person saying 3 months supply, I don't even have money for this month. Okay. Well, that $5 that you have, how are you going to maximize that $5? How are you going to use it? Are you going to go get seeds and start planting so that your children can have food? And you don't have to have a tiller machine in a big backyard. You can
Absolutely.
just put it in a pot. You can find a bucket, find something that you can put some dirt in. Go outside your house and find a place where you can dig a hole, or just get a pot, put some dirt in it, and start growing your collard greens, which is my favorite vegetable. So
So that
I
that made
love,
me think of this nonprofit. I think it's called Lifestyle Journey from Head to Toe.
Yes.
Are you familiar with
yes,
that?
Yeah.
Does
I'm
that ring a
familiar with
bell to
that.
anyone?
Oh, yeah.
I
So if
am
I'm
familiar
not
with lifestyle journey.
mistaken, there's a fifth holistic rejuvenation health summit that's coming up very soon, very soon. And I believe it's gonna address a lot of the things that we're talking about during this conversation as far as achieving health through education. And so correct me anywhere if I'm wrong, but I think you get like continuing education
Mhm.
credits if
Units.
you
Yes.
units if you attend it.
Yes.
So could
16.
okay,
Yes.
please, well, share, elaborate on this.
So there is a webinar coming up soon, and it's a health summit. And the reason why Lifestyle Journey from Head to Toe is hosting this summit is to raise funds. We want to raise funds for our farm school. You're probably saying, what in the world is a farm school? Well, the vision came to me because I feel like we're getting away from what really matters. And life is about surviving. And like Chef Linda said, being in the moment. I want to be able to educate because I am an educator and I love to teach. But I want to be able to educate our children. If they can walk and talk, they're welcome to come to our classes. And I want them to know how to plant, how to harvest, and how to bring that food to the table and make it taste good. That is
Mhm.
about survival. That's about
Oh,
survival. And so we need your donations. We need you to buy our tickets. The webinar will be $59.97, a good way to invest in your health, because you will have several speakers. A doctor of osteopathic medicine, Dr. Gloria, our keynote speaker. She has a naturopathic doctorate as well as a homeopathic doctorate. She is
mm-hmm.
also an international researcher. So we're going to get a wealth of information, and yours truly, I will be introducing these speakers. I will have the pleasure of sharing with you some of their expertise. Chef Glenda is a wonderful person that wears many hats. She is well seasoned, and you don't want to miss it, because she can take one ingredient, one food, and make 10 meals out of it. She is very, very good at what she does.
Yes, she
And
is. I've had her cooking, by the way, too, Miss Sims. And
yes, yes, her cooking is just wonderful. So I think it's important um, that we teach our children survivor skills. And that's what it's all about, teaching them survivor skills.
That art is lost. If you notice, in most of the schools now, people are talking about adulting 101. I mean, it used to be a time that we were taught how to cook in school. We were taught how to live and how to change your oil and just do basic life survival skills. And we're not taught that anymore. And that's what we want to get back to: how to take something and make nothing, how to cook with love and enjoy it, how to do those things.
Right.
Absolutely. I love that. And listen, I'm looking forward to attending and just hearing what everybody has to say. It's definitely a diverse group of speakers that will be doing, I know, some very powerful presentations. And again, just um, touching on things that I think a lot of people need their level of awareness raised on, if you will, to shed
Yes.
some light on those things. And I think a lot of times in this, what my mom would say, microwave generation, um, we want things like, instant. We want the instant fix or recipe. We're very chemically induced society, especially in the Western world, where it's like, I got a headache, I need a pill. If I don't, it's like a pill for everything, right? And like, don't get me wrong, I'm like totally cool. Like, chemical treatment has its place, as does surgery when you need it. But it's always, to me, a powerful to learn alternative methods and approaches for dealing with what your ailments are. And I'm a personal advocate for that, because that's been my experience. Like, there was a time in my life where my diet was horrible, and I'm like, eating cheeseburgers every day or whatever, and my cholesterol, everything was like off the charts, and the doctor is like running my stat. They do the test on you. Like, I don't even remember all these fancy names. I'm not a chemist, right? He's like giving me all the biological names and stuff. And
Yep.
my treatment for it was not to get a pill and ingest that and think that's going to be the cure. I'm like, no, I'm going to exercise. I'm going to become more active. I'm going to change my diet, the foods that I'm eating. And then when I came back for, it was like the 3 or the 6 month checkup to see where I was at, my numbers had dropped at least by 50%, like across the board, dramatically. And that was one of those like moments for me, the like pivotal, eye-opening moments. I'm like, this stuff is like really real, like
Yeah.
actually works. And I think a lot of us we get led astray because, again, we got the microwave mentality. We think like, I want something to be fixed or correct immediately, um, in the short term, versus taking a long term approach, right? And saying, you know what, I'm going to eat healthy, all year round, like for the rest of my life, and take on these great habits. And my understanding is that's what the summit is really all about, right? That's what you all are all about, is giving us that what we really need in order to really thrive for the rest of our lives. Would that be a fair
Yes.
assumption?
Yes, Mr. Taylor, that you hit the nail on the head. It is about decreasing that body burden, metabolic syndrome. People don't understand that even when they take the medication, they still have to make those dietary changes. They still have to exercise. They can't expect for that pill to be the magic answer. And I think once people buy the ticket and watch the webinar, they will understand that it's all about your mind, your body, your spirit. They're all interconnected. Our body is a system, okay? And one cannot work without the other. So I strongly encourage people to invest in their health. And that's one of the reasons why I do a 3-month detox protocol, because other countries, they talk about detoxes. They've been doing detoxes for 500 years. I've never heard of that word. And I grew up, born and raised in Chicago. I never heard of the word detox. And what's the purpose of it? Why do we need to detox? So when I created my business, Head to Toe Change, I created it based on that sole reason. We're going to detox for 3 months. Because when I was diagnosed with my 4th cancer, liver cancer, that's the type of protocol that I was placed on. I was placed on really a 6-month detox protocol in order to decrease the amount of cancer that was in my liver. And we were able to do that without conventional medication. And I figured out foods that agreed with me and foods that didn't, and that whole 6 months. And then it just became a lifestyle for me. And that's why my manager, my best friend, came up with the name Lifestyle Journey from Head to Toe, because it is about a lifestyle. Once you find out what works for your body and what doesn't, once you find out what is triggering your blood pressure, then why would you continue to eat it? Once you find out what's triggering your blood sugar levels and causing them to elevate, why would you continue to eat it? Wow. So we have to make some mind body connections.
Yes.
Okay, we have to make that connection. And then I'm going to also say before we end, people who say, well, I have to die from something, I have a problem with that statement. And I will not be the one to be able to help you if that's the kind of mindset that you have. But if you're the type of person that's sick and tired of being sick and tired, I will be at your doorstep. I will hold your hand for the 3 months or the 6 months or however long it takes to help you find those connections. Because ultimately, this is the temple of God, and He expects us to invest and to treat it as such.
Exactly.
Are you excited? Listen, I'm about on the edge of my seat. I'm ready for this. Tell me, when is the webinar? When is the webinar, Ms. Sims? We're excited. The tickets are only
May 17th.
May 17th. Oh my goodness.
How do we get a
17th.
ticket? Where are the tickets?
Get a ticket, please.
Go to
get one. Okay.
You need to go to www.lifestylejourney.org. And that's where you will buy your ticket.
What'd you say again?
www.lifestylejourney.org.
All right, Ms. Sims. There you have it.
Lifestylejourney.org. And if you would like an invoice, you can also email managerh2tc@gmail.com.
Awesome. One of the good things is this is a certified nonprofit organization, right? So that could be a write-off too, amongst other things.
Yes, that can be a write-off.
Yes, and I want to extend the invite that, the ticket's $59.97, but if you wanted to give a greater donation for the cause, You're also very welcome to do that as well. If this is pulling at your heartstrings and you say, I'm about health, I'm about healing and everything that they're talking about, I want $500, $1,000. That the door is open for you out there, whoever that is. If this is touching you, go ahead and give that as you are led to do.
Yes.
And we're going to learn so much on this videos, on this summit. We're going to be cooking in my kitchen on this summit, guys.
Yes, I'm excited.
I mean, and then just the other presenters, I am so excited. So it would be great to purchase one for you and one for someone else so that you can share in the community. I mean, we should all just get together and really promote health here during this time of COVID-19 so that we'll be more prepared for whatever is coming down the road. And that we'll be prepared to be okay today.
Absolutely.
Right. And that's the message we're trying to send. Don't panic, prepare.
Don't panic, prepare. And
Don't panic,
if our
prepare.
bodies are in the right position and our mind work better, our anxiety levels are usually lower. Mine is, I can say. If I'm eating better, I can think better. I can breathe better.
Yes.
Listen, we're so glad that you came on by and just had a chat with us and shared part of your story, your journey, and some great information. We look forward to being at the webinar May 17th. Again, everybody, go ahead and get your tickets now. We're going to provide the information as soon as this video is, as soon as we're done with this live lifestyle journey from head to toe. Check them out, grab your tickets, get everybody that you know to come on in and support these people. They have a plethora of speakers who are going to be in the building to just educate you and provide you with the information and the resources that you need. And then Chef Glenda is going to be in the kitchen just teaching us and showing us how to cook healthy, how to cook on a budget. Yes, and listen, God Speaks in the Kitchen. She has her cookbook too. She'll be talking about that at the webinar. But listen, ladies, thank you so much for stopping by. We really appreciate your time and sharing this information with us for Tailor Made Events.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tailor Made Events.
You're welcome. It's our pleasure.